I want to watch this. I want to watch it.
Disney was warned for years that their live-action remake of Snow White would be an abysmal failure. They ignored the warnings and instead made every wrong decision possible, leading to a box office bomb. Theaters around the world are empty. The film sold 50% less than they projected. It earned a 1.6 out of 10 star rating on IMDb, a 20% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, the CGI dwarves will give you nightmares, and the little people they replaced with CGI have filed a class action lawsuit against Disney. Walt Disney himself is turning in his grave because he personally requested that the company should never change, alter, or remake Snow White, but they did it anyway.
No,
Disney. Walt Disney himself is turning in his grave because he personally requested that the company should never change, alter, or remake Snow White, but they—
Yo, that's actually insane.
See a little bump.
Dude. That is crazy. Dude, some guy makes an empire off of creative mind, and he asks that, yo, don't do this, and when he dies, then they do that? That's actually awful.
Did it anyway by casting Rachel Zegler, who insisted that they change the entire film to make it more politically correct. Rachel called the original Prince Charming a stalker, insisted that Snow White was not yearning for love, but actually dreamed of being a leader. Rachel also demanded she be paid more for, quote, standing in a dress for 18 hours. Zegler created so much controversy that Disney had to hire a personal security detail for her co-star Gal Gadot because of the countless death threats she was receiving. This movie is an absolute dumpster fire, and Rachel's response to the film bombing proved that everyone's suspicions about her were correct.
I'm a narcissist.
And yet none of that has anything to do with why people were suspicious about Rachel Zegler in the first place. In 2018, Rachel's friend sent her a tweet about an open casting call for Steven Spielberg's film adaptation of West Side Story. So 16-year-old Zegler recorded and submitted an audition tape.
Bernardo and Anita argue all morning about a fight that's gonna happen tonight?
Now, she was definitely a promising young talent. She spent her childhood acting in countless plays and developed an impressive singing voice. Rachel was just one of 30,000 who auditioned for the role of Maria. Without any professional acting experience, an agent, or connections in Hollywood, she was selected for the lead role. Her performance earned critical acclaim, and she went on to win the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. The industry plant accusations were formed because some people simply do not believe that a no-name actor could get this lucky. She was basically hand-selected by Steven Spielberg. Then again, with the entertainment industry being flooded with nepo babies and people born into immense wealth, Rachel being essentially a random girl from New Jersey securing an A-list role.
I believe it. I feel like some of these roles, chat, like when they know, they know. He probably just looked at it and said, wait a minute, that just works, and just selected it.
It actually might be a step in the right direction for Hollywood. However, they may have chose the wrong girl, because her inability to keep her politically charged opinions to herself started to cause problems for
scouts. Okay, chat, people that scout talent in all industries are literally like the ghost geniuses of all the industries. I've been saying this. People that scout talent are actually so skilled and insane, they're crazy. Okay? The fact that they took dude, she got Golden Globe, that's crazy. That it was a no-name, no agency, whatever, and she won the Golden Globe. That's crazy.
Disney executives. As if West Side Story wasn't already a massive introduction to Hollywood, her next role was even bigger, one that could set her up for a lifetime of success, and that was being cast as Snow White in Disney's live-action remake of the classic. Rachel chose to make this monumental announcement on Twitter where she wrote, "Yes, I am Snow White. No, I am not bleaching my skin for the role." Rachel deleted this tweet shortly after sending it out to the world. However, the reason she brought up her skin color in the first place was to address the criticism she was receiving online. In the original fairy tale and the 1937 animated film, Snow White is depicted as having skin as white as snow. It is quite literally the inception of the princess's identity. But Rachel Zegler is of Colombian descent and has more of an olive skin tone. Now, there definitely were some extreme takes, suggesting that Disney is evil and only casting POC characters to cause outrage. There were also some blatantly racist takes, but most people were—
Hold on.
To cause outrage. There were also some some blatantly racist takes, but most people were just genuinely confused why Snow White wasn't going to be white. And this does seem to be a recurring theme for Disney these days. The original 1989 animation of The Little Mermaid depicted Ariel as a white woman, whereas the 2023 live-action remake cast
I'm not gonna say anything.
Halle Bailey as Ariel, who is African American. And yes, this film was also...
I meant about the other one. I just feel like, I don't think that's blatantly racist. Hold on. Now, I wish you hear my take. Don't get mad at me. I think the other comment wasn't blatantly racist. At least the first part. If the character is called Snow White, and it's basically because it's a characteristic of the character being white as snow, the comment isn't blatantly racist. I mean, if let's say if we had the meme chat, right? Ryan Gosling as Black Panther. If somebody says, "Oh, a white panther, not a singular soul on Earth," would make that comment and be called racist. Let's be honest.
Accused of pandering, trying to change something that was a non-issue in the first place. However, defenders pointed out that mermaids don't have a race because they are not real. Normally, these controversies lead to failure, but the film grossed over $560 million worldwide and made a solid profit. But Zegler insisted that the Snow White remake was based on an alternative version of the story, one that doesn't have to do with her skin color. She said, "It fell back to another version of Snow White that was told in history, where she survived a snowstorm that occurred when she was a baby, and so the king and queen decided to name her Snow White to
if this is, let's say it's true, right? Then I think it's up to them to brand it properly and market the movie properly. If you're gonna make that argument, it's a different story, whatever. If it's just bad marketing, bad branding to just label it as Snow White, as everybody knows it. Because if you make a lot of remakes of old Disney stories, like The Beast and the whatever, like if you make a bunch, and they're all pretty accurate one-to-one to what it is, right? If you make a crazy remix or whatever, then brand it as a remix, not as, otherwise you are going to be deceived.
Remind her of her resilience.
It's a no-brainer.
One of the core points in our film for any young woman or young person is remembering how strong you actually are. And while this may seem like a small nuance that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, it was an insight into the major changes that were coming next. Because the more Zegler talked about the film, the more it seemed like it was going to be a disaster. Particularly in this Variety interview where she talked about how she and the writers are giving Snow White a modern twist.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Snow White dreams of being a leader? Why not write a totally new story instead of remaking the old one?
The leader? I'm confused what that means. Why dream of being a leader? Yeah, but I said I didn't even hear that. And I said that. Whenever I told you a new story, yeah, exactly. Chat. What does she lead? I don't get it. The Seven Dwarves? I thought the Seven Dwarves were helping her.
It has nothing to do with Snow White. Zegler, there is nothing wrong with dreaming about true love. But people were not overreacting in the comments. Zegler supported stripping this classic story of its roots.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Rachel's tone might come off.
Who's we though? Who's we? Wait, I'm confused. I thought she was an actor. No way that she shaped the plot and the writing and built the whole thing from scratch.
Silly to some, but it is evidently so sarcastic. Referring to Prince Charming as a stalker is inaccurate and disrespectful. We are not talking about just any Disney film, we are talking about the first ever full-length animated feature film in history. This is quite literally Walt Disney's baby. Now people are already a little apprehensive towards the countless remakes of old Disney classics, but Rachel's lack of class and grace pushed anyone who was even a little open-minded away. Despite that, she continued to
I'm not gonna say anything.
Express her disdain for the original film.
I was scared of the original cartoon. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once, never revisited Snow White again.
What's interesting about Rachel claiming to be scared of the original film is that she also said the exact opposite during her press tour.
The head wobble is literal rage bait. I don't think a lot of... Listen. It's kind of condescending. It's kind of annoying. It's literally made to hate almost. I just don't think a lot of people find it endearing. Like, it's just not...
Showing pictures of her as a child in her Snow White dress and how she always dreamed as a little girl of being
It looks
this
like the Chick-fil-A
princess.
sauce.
This constant flip-flopping along with her sarcastic tone just soured people's perception of her. But not only did she seem unappreciative of a Disney classic, she also made some interesting comments about her next role as Anthea in Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
What made you want to step into this world of DC heroes?
I needed a job. I'm being so serious.
While yes, even actors have bills to pay and need a job to do that, some interpreted the remark as snarky and annoying. Now, to be fair, later in the interview, Rachel does go on to express her gratitude for receiving this role, considering it was only her second Hollywood film ever. But her unapologetic attitude on the red carpet continued to stir the pot.
You know what? Is it basically interesting? It's not interesting. I feel like if she swapped the comments on both movies the other way around, she would have probably won the audience, won everybody. I feel like if for Snow White, I said, oh wait, why did whatever? He said, oh, I needed a job, I needed an acting a role or whatever. Was it okay? And then the other one, same take. It reversed.
And she just kept making it worse, specifically during the writer's strike of 2023. The Writers Guild of America represents thousands of writers in film, TV, radio, and online media. They are the backbone of Hollywood's content. Despite their importance, Hollywood executives restructured the industry to drastically reduce residual payments, leaving most writers with little to no income after their work is uploaded to apps like Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, etc. So the Guild went on a strike to renegotiate and push for higher pay. Rachel Zegler also used her voice to support the strike.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
She's like everything people hate about this generation distilled into a single person. At this point, I'm sure you are noticing a pattern. While we hope that deep down Rachel's intentions are pure, and we hope that she truly is just trying to have an overall positive impact on the world, she has a terrible way of expressing her opinions, as her tone often comes off as disrespectful. Having 2 movies under her belt and already aggressively demanding higher pay came off extremely entitled, especially considering the strike was mostly for writers, because main characters like...
I don't know how people would feel, just generally. I'm not trying to be a hater. Chat, what if people would say, oh yeah, I was paid, let's say, I was paid for Mr. Beast's new video. He paid me $20K for 3 hours of appearance, whatever, where I just got to do a couple jumps and boom, easy. It was, oh, that's a lot of money. But then, what happens if you were to say, yo guys, every view that he gets, I should be getting a portion of that, whatever. I feel like people will be like, shut up, dumb fuck. I feel like people kind of pick and choose where that argument kind of makes sense based on the amount in perception, but it's not. I think it's,
like Zegler, are often compensated extremely generously. By this point, her reputation was at an all-time low, and there were even rumors circulating that Disney was going to...
I mean, she's paid millions for her role. She's paid millions.
Shut up, dumb fuck.
Okay, then pay her, then give her 2% of all sales, whatever, right? But pay her fucking $50K for the role then, $50,000.
Axe this film, as countless people expressed that Rachel Zegler is the sole reason that they would not go to watch the movie. But then somehow, Disney managed to make things even worse. They announced that they would be changing Snow White's 7 dwarves to the more politically correct Snow White's diverse group of magical creatures of all sizes and genders.
The what now? The what?
Correct, Snow White's diverse group of magical creatures of all sizes and genders. Photos of the cast were leaked onto the internet, which sparked
Chat, is this what happened in the movie? This?
outrage. These look like medieval times reenactors at the local fair.
Wait, Chat, I always make jokes about randomizing your character. I feel like that is randomizing, but originally, okay, they changed it after. Because that's literally hitting random. Why is this guy wearing a fucking blazer? This guy's a beanie, some hippie out, and then a blazer and a cane and suit pants. What the fuck am I watching?
Fair. Disney quickly responded and said that these were not pictures of the actual
It's fake.
set, but nobody believed them. The only reason Disney planned on changing the dwarves in the first place was because of a comment made by Hollywood star Peter Dinklage, who felt that the new rendition of the movie was not progressive enough.
I was a little taken back by they're very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White.
Yeah.
But you're still telling the story of Snow White.
Yeah.
Seven Dwarfs.
Sure.
So you take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I know. That makes no sense to me.
Well,
You're progressive in one way, but you're still making.
Oh, I feel like people will misinterpret what he's saying. I don't think he's being soft. I feel like people are misinterpreting it. I think they're saying if you're gonna kind of like butcher the identity of one part, why not butcher the identity of all of it?
In that backward story of seven dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
Even though Peter Dinklage has built an illustrious Hollywood legacy with countless roles as a little person, he seemed pretty upset with Disney. They promptly responded that they would avoid reinforcing stereotypes and would be consulting with members of the dwarfism community to make this.
Yeah, but what stereotype though? I thought a dwarf is a dwarf. I don't think it's a stereotype unless they're using negative stereotypes.
7 characters more inclusive. Most people just looked at this as Disney once again pandering to another social issue, but what often happens when trying to please everyone for the sake of being politically correct, you end up pleasing no one.
What they're doing is pretty much you're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, it's 4 dwarfs.
Disney was panicking for a solution to make both sides happy, and nobody could have predicted how bad their solution to this problem would be. Instead of casting real actors, Disney decided to eliminate them and use CGI dwarves instead, which will provide enough nightmare fuel to last you the rest of 2025.
Unfortunately, this is what happens when you do like full AI, like human face, whatever, fucking CGI, whatever. Uncanny Valley. We've watched like 2 videos about this shit. This falls in the uncanny valley, unfortunately. When you're close to being like realistic, but you don't quite hit the mark, that will feel like really, really bad.
The dwarves look like scary monsters, not cute, charming friends. The overuse of CGI in this film allowed them to take shortcuts. Instead of creating detailed artistic sets and costumes, they relied on animation, which made the film feel cheap, hollow, and soulless. Like, wasn't this supposed to be a live-action remake? Where's the live action? Why is there so much CGI? Why does it look like a really bad cartoon? Additionally, the significance of the dwarves to the story was drastically reduced. Grumpy and Dopey got a decent amount of screen time, while the other 5 dwarves were barely shown enough for the viewers to be able to distinguish them from one another. Ironically, all of these decisions were made to avoid backlash from the dwarfism community, and now the little people who were removed from the...
Bro, I'm confused. They don't want the dwarves to be shown in a bad way, in a real life dwarf way, in a stereotype way, in a whatever way. Okay, then remove the dwarves entirely. Now you're gonna complain that there's no more dwarves anymore. Now you've removed their identity entirely. They don't even exist anymore. So what the fuck did they motherfucking want? I'm confused.
Film are now planning a class action lawsuit against Disney for replacing them with cartoons. This is so ridiculous. Actress Allie Chapman, who is 3 foot 8 inches tall, said, 7 talented little people actors could have played these roles in the live-action remake, and yet they chose to use cartoons. It's an insult and discriminatory. You ever see one of those tragic situations where it's extremely foggy and there's a traffic jam?
It's interesting, chat, how we said true to every argument, but some of those are contradictory. Just because of, I feel like the reason why something is being done is kind of like more important, whatever. And it's I agree with all of it, but in the end, there's no winner, and it just kind of sucks. If everybody just shut the fuck up and just did what the story is, at that point, you need to decide, is Snow White and the 7 Dwarves a story that we're okay with? If it's not, then don't fucking do the movie then. Don't do the story, fuck the whole thing, scrape it, and just don't do it. If everything's gonna be controversy then. Or just commit to it. I'm confused.
On the highway, and you have cars speeding into the fog, just crashing into each other. That is this film. And surely, it couldn't get any worse, right? Wrong, because now there was a major dispute between the two stars of the film, Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler. Fans noticed sometime between 2023 and 2024 that Gal and Rachel may have developed some tension. As you can see in this interview, Gal is being professional, looking and smiling while Zegler is speaking. But whenever Gal is speaking, Zegler refuses to look at her, often looking down at her feet or off to the side. Their body language screams that there is tension between them, and these assumptions would be proven true. When Disney released the official trailer for Snow White, Rachel thanked the fans for their support.
Overthinking. I think it's a little bit of overthinking, overanalyzation. Okay, on top of which she seemed to be doing pretty good eye contact with her when somebody's of her height or under. Maybe it's just, guys, looking up at people isn't like it's just, if it's a common thing, like we have to look up at somebody. Often they avoid eye contact, but they're like. It's a thing. It's a thing.
Receiving over 120 million views in 24 hours. She used that big moment to make a political statement. And always remember, free Palestine. While some saw this as an...
She said, what? What do we do on our trailer? What a whirlwind. I'm in the thick of rehearsals for Romeo and Juliet.
A political statement. And always remember, free Palestine. While some saw this as an honorable act of solidarity, others interpreted it as a jab at her co-star. Gal Gadot is Israeli and even served in their military. Gal has been outwardly supportive of her country, specifically posting support for the IDF and civilian hostages taken during the October 7th Hamas attack. Almost immediately, Gal began getting a concerning amount of death threats. Things got so bad that Disney had to hire a personal security detail for Gadot. One of the Disney producers, Mark Platt, flew from Los Angeles to New York to have a personal crisis talk with Zegler. Platt had to remind her how much was at stake with the movie and her career before asking her to post heedfully. The son of the Disney
It's a little bit unfair in my opinion. Regardless of what your take is, I don't even have a take. I don't honestly, I'm not here about the take. I'm just saying, to ask one to post hatefully to one to, and the other one, and it's still kind of like it's honestly probably just ask everybody to avoid it. If to not great
movie and her career before asking her to post heedfully. The son of the Disney producer was criticized online for his father trying to reprimand Zegler, to which he responded, "Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office."
Guys,
free speech does...
Regardless, guys, I said this yesterday. There is no winning in politics, and of course you can say, "Dude, this is human rights. Dude, this is civilian. This is whatever." Okay, I understand that. It's also political in nature. Any comment, even if you have 80, okay, chat. If I say I like hot dogs, okay, the 80% of people that agree with me will like me. The 20% that don't agree with me still like me. Politics is kind of like this. Oh, guys, I support this. 95% of people agree with me and like me for this. The other 5% now probably kind of hate me, and now they don't like me anymore. There's always loss in political commentary or comment. That's just the way that it's why a lot of people just avoid it. Okay, here's a question mark. Then how come every artist that has crazy pull and influence want to talk about politics all the time then? If they can sway the world and do the right thing. Because there is loss at every comment. There's loss every single time. And that's just something that when you're in this industry, it hurts everybody. This will hurt how many people are gonna watch it, how many people are gonna consume it, how many people are gonna get the residual income from fucking whatever. It hurts the income of everybody. It's just what it is. Like,
does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires, at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie.
You say have a spine when you have nothing. You have no stakes at play, no loss, no possible pushback, yet nobody will be affected by your actions, your wording. You have nothing at stake, nothing. And you're putting people in and say, dude, why don't you lose everything? Why don't you chunk the income of everybody? Dude, for doing the right thing. Brother, you can still make those comments. You can do that like before, after, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Why do it when you're in the middle of a crazy multi-$100 million fucking marketing push? It's just loss. I don't know what to tell you.
To be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. Now, Rachel Zegler cannot necessarily be held responsible for the actions of other people. After all, her and her co-star are doing the exact same thing. They are just expressing support for opposite sides. But all of this could have been avoided if they just left politics out of a children's movie. But Zegler was insistent on making her political opinion heard at any opportunity she could.
Vote for Kamala Harris. And it's actually non-negotiable. Our rights are on the line, folks. Our reproductive rights. Come on. Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
And what better time than immediately after
telling what people should vote for and telling them what to vote for is, I think, inherently wrong. You're preying on the fact that people are uneducated, uninformed, they won't do any research, they won't even think, is this with my values or not my values, and just blindly vote for something because they were told to do so by somebody who has influence. It's inherently flawed. If you believe in democracy, the foundation of what democracy is, you will agree with my take. But you're so brainwashed and thinking, dude, they should do the right thing. No, I know better. No, you don't. Nobody knows better. You vote with what your values are, what you think is better, with the information that you have. You don't just fucking get told to do so. Dumb fuck. Why is it when people say, guys, vote blue, say, guys, BZ, this is all true. When he says vote red, oh my god, evil, racist, this is a Nazi at play. Like, if you're gonna have, it has to be both ways. Therefore, just don't do it.
For the election of President Donald Trump. She posted on her Instagram story, "I find myself speechless in the midst of this. Another 4 years of hatred, leaning us towards a world I do not want to live in. Leaning us towards a world that will be hard to raise my daughter in." She doesn't have a daughter, by the way. Leaning us towards a world that will force her to have a baby she doesn't want. Leaning us towards a world that is fearful. I shouldn't be this shocked, but I am. I am heartbroken for my friends who awoke fear this morning, and I am here with you. To cry, to yell, to hug, to wax poetic on how the left continues to fail us in forging a new path forward. This loss should not have been, and it certainly should not have been by so many votes. May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. This sent the media into an all-out frenzy, particularly conservative media, who were shocked that Disney was allowing their star to publicly condemn half the country.
Hello, Disney. You're gonna have to redo your film again.
Okay, again, I feel like genuinely, I feel like when a presidential candidate represents more than just one facet of something, okay? If for some people, their values and their inclinations are a lot more in one way, and even though they agree with that, that doesn't make them flip sides, whatever. Do these people don't deserve peace then? These people are, nah, dude, fuck you guys deserve to be whatever. I think that's just a very reductive thinking. It's stupid.
Conservative media, who were shocked that Disney was allowing their star to publicly condemn half the country.
Hello, Disney. You're gonna have to redo your film again. Because this woman...
I'm not a magatard. I still have a brain left to fucking think, okay? What if you were in this world where the opponent was like some I'm just saying, like some evil candidate. Everything you hate is doing it, but he's saying, guys, but I'm for abortion, all these topics, and you're all in line with those, and then what? now, oh, wait a minute. We have to vote for this guy. No, I don't agree with that. See how it is, though. There's more to a candidate than just one facet of them. Yo. Me doing that 8-inch stream doesn't mean that I endorse or say, I never even said, vote for this, do that. I never said shit like that.
I never. Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
Rachel finally crossed a line. Disney was officially fed up with her and decided to take action. First, I'm assuming, they made her apologize because she redacted her comments she made about the election. From there, Zegler reportedly began working with a social media guru paid for by Disney to vet.
You say it's implied, but what? Okay, then what would sway you more than that? Me putting $700,000 on fucking Kamala winning, or me being in the background of an 8-inch stream and appearing where Trump is in the vicinity? Which one of them is more than it? Hold on, you have to pick and choose now. Which one would sway you more? You don't even agree with yourself, dude. Shut up.
Any post before the film's March 21st debut. They essentially had someone monitoring her social media so she wasn't able to sabotage the film any further, but the damage had already been done. The film officially released in theaters worldwide on March 21st, 2025. There was a slight chance that all this negative publicity would actually draw more attention to the film, increase ticket sales, and lead to a successful debut.
Like Assassin's Creed was like that. They knew... Assassin's Creed knew that the people that were hating are like fucking like super like dumbass radical Twitter Andes or whatever, and it wouldn't affect their sales at all. These people don't fucking play games. Most commentary people on Twitter that have a lot of followers that tweet like, these guys don't play games. They talk to an audience that doesn't play games. What does it matter? Why do I care if some guy that doesn't even have a computer isn't good? Guys, I'm not gonna buy your game. You weren't gonna buy any game, you fucking fat loser. Like what?
Fortunately for Disney, the opposite happened. Fans knew this movie was going to suck way before it ever released, and no matter how many professional critics on Rotten Tomatoes are writing positive reviews, the fans have made their statement with a lack of support. And as a result, Snow White has suffered a disastrous opening weekend at the global box office, earning only $87.3 million worldwide, which sounds like a lot until you realize that it had a staggering $250 million production budget, which some reports suggest is actually closer to $300 million after reshoots and marketing costs. That means they had a whopping 70% loss, making it one of Disney's biggest box office bombs in recent history. This performance is nearly exactly the same as The Little Mermaid. It had the same budget and had a very...
The impact of small things cannot be understated. Sometimes the smallest things affect it in such a crazy way. I'm gonna say, if she just shut her trap, it would have probably doubled. Hey,
very similar opening weekend. However, The Little Mermaid was actually a pretty good remake with positive reviews. Fans later decided to give the movie a shot, which resulted in a $569 million worldwide box office earnings. But due to the overwhelming agreement from people who actually watched the movie that it sucks, and then people straight up boycotting, I don't think Snow White's gonna get a second wind. This is a bomb. And Rachel Zegler's response to the box office failure was nothing short of delusional.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
The what? Check the what?
When I win. And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her.
The winged victory, is that like an art piece? It can't. Okay, so the Louvre is a museum, okay, in France, okay. So then, it came into pieces. It was broken. Okay, so she's saying that a big, crazy, good art piece came in pieces, meaning that it was broken upon arrival, doesn't mean that it's bad.
And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
People who already thought Zegler was a narcissist have officially confirmed their feelings after seeing this statement. They suspected she was trying to make this film. about her. They suspected that she did not care for the legacy of Disney and that all she wanted was the spotlight for herself. And honestly, this response makes it seem like those assumptions are now justified. But
okay, chat. Usually, chat, a movie starts bad in rating or starts good if it's good, and then goes down a little bit, right? This shit actually somehow went down. That is outrageous. Even though people hate it before and off the rip, they hate it even more. It's insane.
It's a confusing response because the film was a massive flop. Like, essentially she's saying, haha, my movies are so great, you just have to line up and you have to watch them. But that's not the case. People are actually not waiting in line for this film specifically because of her. And as easy as it is to continuously blame her for the failure of this film, it's only fair to admit that Rachel Zegler's performance was actually decent. She is a great...
I'll pause and I'm actually going to disagree. If press tours are a thing for positive, they know that it'll help the movie do good. If they fail at the fucking at the PR tours and tours whatever, then you can say also that it probably impacted it negatively. If you're gonna say that we do this for good and we're gonna claim the rewards, you also have to tank the loss when it's bad. And that's probably what happened. Like,
singer, and she definitely performed well considering most of what makes the film actually bad was outside of her control. Like most Disney live-action remakes, Snow White just felt a bit bland and lacked the magic of the original. The CGI looked cheap, the colors are dull and boring, the evil queen didn't feel very evil at all. These remakes often struggle to capture the same charm, making them feel like a corporate cash grab. But since Disney will lose money on this film, perhaps they won't.
If this was my cast, I'm putting Sydney Sweeney as Snow White, and the lady from chat was the lady from Narcos or whatever. The lady it plays Blanco whatever. Chat.
Like a corporate cash grab. But since Disney will lose money on this film, perhaps they won't make this same mistake going forward. But the biggest learning lesson for Disney here is that the internet outrage is not fake. When people say, hey, your main character is insufferable and I would not spend my money to see this movie, they're not lying. When people say they genuinely want politics to remain out of a children's movie, they are not lying. And when people say it's better to just invent new stories instead of alter the classics, they are not lying. The people won, but the truth...
Chat, the younger guy of the guy who plays Thor. Or me. Yeah, okay, yeah, me. Chat. What's his name, chat? Liam Hemsworth. Oh yeah. Sydney Sweeney, Liam Hemsworth, and Sophia as the bad one. Dude, I cooked. Okay, it would have did 1 billion upon the first week of release. I would have slammed.
The truth is, this film should have never been made. Walt Disney himself was
7 dwarves, 7 actual dwarves, 7 actual little people, right? So some looking certain ways, blah blah. If it fits the theme, boom, yeah, boom, dude.
Extremely
$1 billion.
protective of Snow White and
Tyler 1, featuring Kai Cenat, featuring Stable Ronaldo, featuring everybody on phase, Jet. $1 billion.
7 Dwarves. This was essentially his baby. Walt reportedly rejected multiple ideas for sequels, including a proposed short called Snow White Returns, and was adamant that the original story should not be altered or expanded, as he believed Snow White was a standalone masterpiece that should remain untouched. And it's extremely evident that Disney should have honored their creator's one wish.
Disney sent a taxi. Chat, I have to go. They want me to do the next movie. according to her, Snow White and the 7 viewers.